Good morning, everyone. My name is Jason Threlfall, and I'm a proud member of the congregation here. And I've been a bit away for a while. The COVID kind of sent me spiraling into other things, but it's good to be here, and I'm so happy to be part of this service. This first song is a song that I wrote, and the one thing I want to say about it is that. I think each and every one of us and people across the world are amazed and so moved by a rainbow. And what I'd just like to say is that all the colors of the spectrum live within us, within the divine part of us. And that we choose to let certain colors shine brighter than others, and what we're taught probably influences that a lot. But it's so important that we recognize that all those colors live within us, and that to be truly whole as a human being, that we not shy away from the colors that don't shine quite as brightly right now as they're meant to be. So I wanted to play this song for all the people that choose to let colors shine that aren't necessarily accepted by society, embraced by society. Instead, there's a lot of judgment thrown their way. How courageous, how wonderful. And this is a song called One Heart of Many. One heart with many feelings, one voice with many songs, one soul with many questions, not so different after all. May I find a sense of place with each step that I do take, every breath setting free the light inside of me, kind and gentle, courageous, strong, so deserving of respect and love. One heart with many reasons to live a life without shame. One soul with wings waiting, singing out, here I am. May I find a sense of place with each step I dare to take, every moment setting free the light inside of me, kind and open, determined, strong, so deserving of acceptance and love. One heart of many, one voice reaching through, one life at times unsteady, not so different, me and you.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Rachael Hayes, minister of the Unitarian Universalist Society of Amherst. I use she, her pronouns. Welcome to you, old friends and new, young and old, in the Zoom and in the sanctuary. You are an essential part of our celebration today. Whether today is your first or your 1000th Sunday in our midst, we are stronger because you are with us. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Just as you are welcome here. Today, we're observing Transgender Day of Remembrance and looking toward the National Day of Mourning.
Okay, I
We
don't
will
want to.
also have a time of spoken joys and sorrows today. I'm glad to welcome our Youth and Young Adult Coordinator, Collee Williams, to help me lead the service, and I'm very pleased to have two member musicians, Jason Threlfall, who you just heard, and Fran Plummer, who's helping lead our hymns. We come together this Sunday morning to remember, to mourn, to give thanks, to celebrate, to rejoice. We come together on the land of the Nipmuc, Pocumtuck, and Nonotuck people. We come together remembering that wherever we go, we are called into relationship with the land and the people who have loved it all along. Come, let us worship.
We light this flame to invite a world of peace, where we heal the wounds, where we share what we have with one another, where justice is another word for relationship, and we listen for what love has to say.
I invite you to rise in body and spirit to sing our first hymn, Circle Around for Freedom, which is number 155 in your hymnal and on the slide. Okay. So today we're going to do a meditation for resilience. Do you know what the word resilience means? Yeah, that's a big one. Do any of the, yeah, what do you? Yeah, you haven't used that word in a while. Yeah, I think some of us, it's been a while since we've used a word like resilience, and we are overdue. Do any of the adults want to let us know what a resilience means? Yeah, Pete says bouncing back. That's a good one. Any other definitions of resilience? Withstanding, flexibility, grit and toughness. Yeah, in the back. The capacity to heal. I think all of these definitions together make a really good collage of what resilience is. And we're going to do a meditation for resilience. And we all have different bodies and stories and memories, so use this meditation time in a way that works for you. Everything is an invitation, not a requirement. So take a breath, kind of breath that feels right to you, but maybe you want to feel it way big in your body. And let it out when you want to. And we're going to keep breathing this whole time, finding the next breath, and the next. And anytime you need, remember that you are breathing. Notice where you are. Notice 5 things you can see. Yeah, a piano, a computer, a guitar, a candle, yeah, Zaya. Yeah, the golden thing, the organ. Yeah. So now notice 4 things you can touch. Yeah, Adar. Paper. I'm touching paper right now. Gage. The floor. Maya. The rug. Your mom. Was that 4? Are we up to 4 already? Okay, that was 4. And lots of us have different things that we've noticed, and that's good. Notice 3 things you can hear. My voice. I hear a baby. What else do we hear? Let's see. Aaliyah. That's mine. Yeah, that's your baby? Yeah. Okay. Adar. Yeah, you hear animals? Okay. Okay. I'm going to, you might notice more than 2 things, but given our setting, I invite you to notice and say the polite things, but notice 2 things you can smell. Adar? Candle. Yeah. Candle and cake. Are you smelling cake right now? Yeah? Some of us smell cake, which is very exciting. So we are smelling candles and cake. And notice one thing you can taste. And everybody's going to have a different answer for this, because if you don't have any food or drink with you, then you're probably tasting the inside of your mouth. Yeah? Or maybe you have food or drink. Yeah? Okay. So many things to notice. We're going to let the rest of them go. We are here in this moment now. Notice your breath again. Now, on your next out breath, I invite you to hum. Notice what does that feel like inside your head? Okay, just notice to yourself for this one, okay? And place your hands on your heart as you continue to hum. And what does that feel like inside your chest? As we keep humming, hands on hearts, I invite you to feel your own breath and voice and strength inside of you. Our congregation is full of people of many ages, from the very, very youngest to very, very oldest. As I look at our children, I see people who are strong and powerful in many ways. People who know how sometimes you have to try a lot of things to figure out what you need. People who can keep going. people who can do hard things. You are strong and powerful and resilient. And I see that resilience in the adults of our congregation too. I do. Keep humming. Honor that resilience inside yourself. And now, if you want, honor that resilience in someone else inside this service with you. Maybe one of the kids, maybe one of the grown-ups. Reach toward them with your hand or your mind. And if you're on Zoom, maybe that's somebody you see in the gallery view with you. Hum to honor their resilience. And let's honor the resilience of our congregation, which has lived longer than any person who has ever belonged to it, which has survived very hard economic times and pandemics and problems with the building and renovations and so many changes. Let's hum for our congregation. Hum for its resilience and hear one another. Maybe this hum isn't enough, and so it gets louder and stronger. And maybe feet begin to tap on the floor. And we let it go. Let the hums and the stomps go. Feel that resilience still humming inside of us. And we keep breathing.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Collee Williams. My pronouns are she, her, and they, them. And I'm the Youth and Young Adult Coordinator for the Unitarian Universalist Society of Amherst and the Unitarian Society of Northampton and Florence. I wanted to take some time this morning to offer some reflections on my experiences of attending the National Day of Mourning for the past 3 years. In order to talk about the National Day of Mourning, I find it helpful to begin by starting with the real history of Thanksgiving. The first official day of Thanksgiving was proclaimed in 1637 by Governor Winthrop of the Massachusetts Bay Colony. The Thanksgiving Day which he proclaimed was to celebrate the safe return of colonists who had gone to Mystic, Connecticut to participate in the massacre of over 700 Pequot women, children, and men. This was the original meaning behind Thanksgiving, and as I learned from attending the National Day of Mourning, in the eyes of many American Indians, the meaning of this holiday has never really changed. I also learned that the so-called Pilgrims came to Massachusetts not as religious refugees, as colonial mythology states, because they had already been granted religious liberty in Holland. Rather, the Pilgrims arrived on a commercial venture to steal indigenous land and resources and to turn a profit on it. In fact, one of the first actions that the Pilgrims took upon arriving at Cape Cod was to rob Wampanoag graves and steal as many of the Wampanoag provisions of corn and beans as they were able to carry. Plymouth Rock, which the Pilgrims most likely never landed at, instead serves as a shrine and a tourist attraction to commemorate this brutal colonial history, much like how Confederate statues in the South commemorate the brutality of the Confederacy. The first National Day of Mourning began in 1970 when Wamsuta Frank Jones, a Wampanoag man, was asked to speak at a state dinner commemorating the 350th anniversary of the Pilgrim Landing. Rather than repeating the colonial myths of Thanksgiving, Jones told the real story, and because of this, his speech was censored. In response to this, local Wampanoags and other indigenous groups organized a protest march in the town of Plymouth, where Jones was able to give his intended speech. And every year since then, there has been a protest march in Plymouth on the same day as Thanksgiving, known as the National Day of Mourning. I have attended the National Day of Mourning 3 times, twice on Zoom and once in person. Each year, there have been moving speeches and testimonies from Indigenous speakers, land defenders, and activists from around the world. Every year, an address is read out loud from Leonard Peltier, the former leader of the American Indian Movement and longest-serving political prisoner in U.S. history, wrongfully imprisoned for the death of an FBI agent in a shootout on the Pine Ridge Reservation. Each year, there are renewed calls from Indigenous activists and allies for the president to grant him clemency, and each year these calls have been ignored. One of the biggest takeaways I've learned from the National Day of Mourning is that along with introducing smallpox, the Pilgrims introduced the class system, patriarchy, the gender binary, homophobia, private property, and many other systems of oppression to these shores for the first time, systems which many of us, including the descendants of settlers, are still struggling against today. As a white trans person with US citizenship, I think about how the colonial systems that the Pilgrims enforced through violence and that their descendants, white people, white Americans, and our government today continue to enforce, confer upon me with unearned privileges in many areas of my life, such as my race and class, and also marginalize me in my experience of gender. In honor of the Trans Day of Remembrance, I think it's also critically important to reflect on how the marginalization of transness is made more drastic and multiplied for trans folks who are Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and those who are marginalized in additional ways such as class, ability, etc. For the settler colonists who founded the so-called United States and the Pilgrims who came before them, it wasn't enough to simply steal the land and resources of Native Americans. They sought to eliminate Native culture and existence from this land entirely. When I think about Thanksgiving in light of this, I can begin to understand why a day of mourning rather than a day of Thanksgiving is needed in relation to this history. And yet the day of mourning is not only about mourning, it is also about resilience, self-determination, and sovereignty for Indigenous peoples. The motto of the United American Indians of New England, who organize the National Day of Mourning each year, is that we are not vanishing, we are not conquered, we are as strong as ever. The Pilgrims, nor subsequent generations of settler colonists, were not able to succeed in eliminating Native peoples from this land and from eliminating their cultures entirely. Due to the strong community support and popular protests such as Standing Rock and the National Day of Mourning, Native communities continue to exist, promote and struggle for their sovereignty, and challenge the dominant colonial power structures of the US and beyond.
Hello, I am in my office through the magic of television or something because we lost power for a weird little blip during the service, and part of my sermon didn't make it onto Zoom because we lost Wi-Fi. So I am re-recording for the video and for everybody on Zoom who missed part of the service, in case you want to come back and watch. Transgender Day of Remembrance is November 20th, today and every year. People around the world come together to honor the memory of trans people who died by anti-trans violence. Just as National Day of Mourning began with Wamsuta Frank James's call to tell the truth about what Thanksgiving is to him as a Wampanoag man, Transgender Day of Remembrance began with one voice, Gwendolyn Ann Smith, in 1999. Smith held the first day of remembrance in honor of Rita Hester and all victims of anti-trans violence. Rita Hester was a Black transgender woman here in Massachusetts. She was an advocate and an educator on trans issues and well known in the trans community. On November 28th, 1998, Rita Hester was stabbed 20 times in her own Boston apartment. Her murder remains unsolved to this day. Gwendolyn Smith, a white transgender woman from California, had already begun tracking and chronicling trans people who died by anti-trans violence, and Rita's murder was the catalyst for her to take this record of mourning and create a day of commemoration. Gwendolyn had already changed the world with her own advocacy. She convinced America Online, you remember AOL, 30 years ago. She successfully lobbied AOL to allow discussion of gender in their forums. For 5 years, she ran one of the first online transgender community forums where people could meet across the internet and talk about gender identity. It's hard to know how many lives she saved, how many people longing to be known as themselves. Her work honored the worth and dignity of those in her community, which is a life-saving act. It's suicide prevention to call someone by their name and pronouns and take them seriously. But suicide is not the only elevated risk to trans people. Trans people face interpersonal violence at higher rates than cisgender people. At least 32 transgender people have died so far this year. And we say at least because we don't know. Most of them transgender women of color, many of them killed by intimate partners. Gwendolyn's work continues in many hands as GLAAD and the Human Rights Campaign continue to educate, advocate, and remember those who died. The organization Forward Together chooses to celebrate Trans Day of Resilience, a celebration of trans brilliance, trans ancestors, and trans joy. They send trans love care packages full of art, buttons, prints, and stickers to trans, Black, Indigenous, and people of color. They celebrate visibly the beauty and joy of being yourself in a world that expects you to be somebody else. Gathering resilience comes from telling the truth. From Wamsuta Frank James telling the truth about Thanksgiving, from Gwendolyn Smith telling the truth about anti-trans murders, from everyone who stops and says, no, listen, this is what happened, this is what is happening, this is who I am. There is resilience that comes from integrity, from truth. We have a duty to meet this integrity, this truth. If we say that we seek truth and meaning responsibly, that means that we do it in relationship. People are looking for relationship when they give us another chance to do better. It's not the only sign, but it's a big one. The Massachusetts Indigenous Legislative Agenda put forth a 5-point agenda for bills in our state legislature. 1. Honor Indigenous Peoples Day. Celebrate Indigenous resilience and survival, and tell the truth about historic and ongoing colonialism, genocide, and racism. 2. Protect Native American heritage. Don't sell Native sacred objects. And this is me, but while we're at it, give them back. 3. Remove the racist Native American mascots from Massachusetts public schools. 4. Teach Native American culture and history. 5. Educate Native youth. If you contacted your state legislatures to support this agenda, thank you for that. But how are you choosing to do these things in your own life, given that you are not a public school, a museum full of sacred artifacts, or a government body? How are you telling the truth about Native genocide, colonialism, and racism? Do you support teams with racist mascots, shop in stores with racist signage, buy items with racist logos? Do you buy native-style art from non-Indigenous makers? Are you learning Native history? Do you support Native culture bearers by paying for the Native culture you encounter? How are you telling the truth about the oppression transgender and non-binary people face? Do you know the truth? Have you studied gender and sexuality recently? Meaning in the last 5 years, because language changes and the movement moves. Do you assume the gender of the people you meet? Do you take care to get their pronouns right and use their up-to-date name? Do you remind others to use the right pronouns and name? It matters. It matters that we open ourselves to hearing the truth and telling the truth. I have 2 things you can do in the next week to open up to this truth. Later today, bring up that resilience we cultivated together and read the names and stories of the people who died by anti-trans violence this year. It's posted on the Human Rights Campaign website. On Thursday, attend the National Day of Mourning by live stream, if not in person. Listen to the speakers and hold your heart open to truth. Or, whatever you are doing, think about what it means to celebrate from a place of gratitude and connection and relationship rather than white supremacy. 2 things that will come up in our congregation in the future. In the new year, our congregation will do a book read of an Indigenous people's history of the United States, and I hope you can join us. And I am planning on offering some gender and sex ed for adults in the next year or so. Details TBD. Being willing to tell and honor the truth, or not, will determine what our future is. If we are to have a future of truth and integrity, we will have to put down what we thought was true in the past and be willing to hear the truth again.
People hear that? Check. Okay. This song is called Plowshare Prayer, and it's by Spencer LaJoy. Dear brother, dear holy elder, dear sibling, dear baby, dear patiently waiting, dear sad and confused, dear stuck and abused, dear end of your rope, dear worn out and broke, dear go it alone, dear running from home, dear righteously angry, forsaken by family, dear jaded and quiet, dear tough and defiant. I pray that I'm heard, and I pray that this works. I pray if a prayer has been used as a sword against you and your heart, against you and your word. I pray that this prayer is a plowshare of swords, that it might break you open, it might help you grow. I pray that your body gets all that it needs, and if you don't want healing, I just pray for peace. I pray that your burden gets lighter each day. I pray the mean voice in your head goes away. I pray that you honor the grief as it comes. I pray you can feel all the life in your lungs. Pray that if you go all day being brave, that you can go home, go to bed feeling safe. I pray you're forgiven. I pray you forgive. I pray you set boundaries and openly live. I pray that you feel you are worth never leaving. I pray that you know I will always believe you. And I pray that you're heard. And I pray that this works. Amen on behalf of the last and the least, on behalf of the anxious, depressed and unseen. Amen for the workers, the hungry, the houseless. Amen for the lonely and recently spouseless. Amen for the queers and their closeted peers. Amen for the bullied who hold in their tears. Amen for the mothers of little black sons, and amen for the kids who grow up scared of guns. Amen for the addicts, the ashamed and hungover. Amen for the calloused, the wise and the sober. Amen for the ones who want life to be over, and amen for the leaders who lost their composure. Amen for the parents who just lost their baby. Amen for the chronically ill and disabled. Amen for the children down at the border. Amen for the victims of our law and order. And I pray that you're heard. And I pray that this works. I pray if a prayer has been used as a sword against you and your heart, against you and your word, I pray that this prayer is a plowshare of swords.
Spirit, Spirit of life, love, and connection, whom some know as God, some know as love, and some know as the sweetness inside the silence. We have come from the many places of our lives to show up to one another. May every hurt be healed. May every sorrow be met with care. May we know that each of us is loved and called to share that love with the world. Blessed be. Amen. I invite you into one more song, our beloved closing song. I invite you to rise to reach out to someone near you or put your hands on your heart as we sing our closing song.
This day we come once more together as winds of earth call forth our names, my people, all from the strength of this circle. May we come rejoicing, determined, united in love of life again. Let's take it one more time, everybody. This day we come once more together as winds of earth call forth our names, my people, all from the strength of this circle. May we come rejoicing, determined, united in love of life again.
If here you have found freedom, take it with you into the world. If you have found comfort, go and share it with others. If you have dreamed dreams, help one another that they may come true. If you have known love, give some back to a bruised and hurting world. Go in peace.
We've got to shine, 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 shine. Shine, 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 shine. We've got to shine, 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 shine. With kindness as our compass and our guide, and strength to find beauty in every heart. We've got to shine, 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 shine. Shine, 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 shine. We've got to shine, 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 shine. With kindness as our compass and our guide, and strength to find beauty in every heart.